frankly. And if anybody has heard me speak, I don't mix words. So I'm not going to dance around things. If we're not doing it, we're not doing it. You know, Elizabeth actually said that it's only Africans that can rebuild Africa. So I'm going to speak about what Africans are really doing and what it is that we need to do. And we can stop doing all the talking and start doing the action. So just be warned. I don't want to step on anybody's toes or offend anyone, but I am Gambian, but I was born in the US, so I speak a little differently. So thank you so very much, all of you, for coming, all of you for having me, and all of you that will listen to what it is that we need to do to better ourselves in diversity and inclusion. Well, we can throw the gender in there because that's part of the diversity and inclusion. But this is based on the best way to include it is through evidences. What are evidences? When we say you have evidence of this and you have evidence of that, it seems like it's more of a court of law. But an evidence is really just facts or information that proves something to be true or factual. So this is your proof. So in diversity and inclusion, especially in the workplace, we need proofs. We don't need feelings and emotions, and we definitely don't need someone to just say it because they can through privilege and entitlement. We need voices that can speak to truth. One of the things that we do in medicine is called evidence-based practices. Evidence-based practices is just that. Things that we know to be true and right, we continuously do them to make sure that the quality of care reaches a certain standard and goes beyond. So we're going to do that today in diversity and inclusion. We're going to make sure that the evidences prove our theory of how we can be more inclusive, okay? So let's begin. The first evidence is the evidence of view, what you see. The first question is, what is happening? Why is it accepted? And what is the root or the pathology behind it? So when we talk about diversity, why is it that we are just doing it now? Why is it just happening now? Why is it just a buzzword and an in vogue term that we're using now? Why haven't we had a diverse culture in the workplace 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Why were men only seen as breadwinners and the women were at home taking care of kids? I tell you, if we really paid women for what we do at home, men would be in a poverty level, I promise you, because the amount of money you would have to pay us for what we do in the house, to take care of the children, to take care of ourselves, to take care of you, there's no money amount in the world that could pay us. And that's why they call it a selfless act. But why is it that women are only seen to be good at home and men are the breadwinners, or they're the ones that are supposed to be educated or employed? Why is it that we have so many, still in 2020, we have so many careers that are heavily inundated with men? Think about engineering. How many women you know that are in engineering? Yeah, not too many. How many women do you know actually take up in construction or in architecture? All of these are very heavily male-dominated fields. It used to be medicine and law were heavily male-dominated. But what we're learning now is that it's easier to get into law and medicine because there's so many women getting into it and reaching back and grabbing others. Whereas in the heavily male-dominated environments, we don't see many men bringing women on or bringing other men on for that matter. So what we're noticing is what's happening is there's a big, heavy influx of competition. So many people feel as though that, you know, you got to compete for your job. No, you just have to apply for your job. If you're qualified, you'll get the job. But you feel as though there's a competition there. No, there's enough out here for everyone to eat a lot. We don't have to compete with each other, and we definitely don't have enough time to be rallying with each other over the jobs. For example, if let's say David and Elizabeth were going for the same job. David is educated, whereas Elizabeth has experience. Who would be chosen for the job? Well, most people would think David because, one, he's educated. Well, how about Elizabeth, who has the experience? Don't you think it's better to have someone with experience than just education? Especially when it deals with medicine. Would you choose A doctor that's been doing it for 30 years or a doctor right out of medical school? Now, both of them are doctors, but who would you choose? Especially if you're having an operation, let's say on your mother or your daughter. Who would you choose? You would choose someone with the experience. So sometimes education can get in the way. It also can mute a lot of the experience that's out here that is just as competent. So what is happening now in diversity is we are seeing that we're looking at it from a different perspective. We're learning to look for the experience and the education and the greater balance of both. Why is this accepted? It's being accepted now because we realize, just like I said, we're choosing the more experienced professionals when it comes to feelings of the heart, when it comes to family, when it comes to people dealing with things in their own capacity. They are wanting those that know what they're doing, not just educated in what has happened. But unfortunately, we don't get many people that are wanting to do it because of experience. They charge higher prices. You're going to pay me for my worth and my value. And a lot of people are priced out of that. So we go to those that are coming out of school and we trust them because they're of our tribe or they're from our state or because we knew them from school. But why are we choosing them? And why are we not looking at the competency rather than the comfort? Now, a lot of us are saying with the advent of what it is that's coming forward. We lost the video. Okay, good. A lot of us are saying with the advent of new science and new technology that we want more diverse people that are advantageous to learning that. So now we want to say we want the younger mindset. So some people will say, well, I don't want someone Dr. Ameena's age, she's 50 something. That's all I'm saying. And we don't want the older ones. We want the youth. We want the younger people to come in for technology. So why is it so different for law and medicine than it is for technology? Why do we want the young folks for technology and the older folks for the medicine and the law? Well, here's what happens. Let's talk about the root and the pathology of it. When we deal with things that deal with health, law, personal things that can affect our freedom and our wellness, we want someone that knows what they're doing, okay? We want someone that is creative and advantageous to get the answer, but what we're not seeing is the way that they got it. We see older people as, oh, well, that's the old way of doing it. That's not a new advantage to technology or technique. So we choose someone that we know knows their stuff. We want to see the younger people as, oh, they're still learning, they're still new, so we don't want them in medicine. But if we want a website, we're going to choose someone 19, 20, 21 years old because we want the fresh and relevant thing to represent us. Well, why? Why do we see young in one and old in another? The simple reason is when we deal with law and medicine, we're dealing with our freedom and our health. That is something that will never change. That is something that will, beyond measure, will always be treated with respect because those are the things that will either kill you or confine you. And if they know that there is something that will inhibit you, you want someone who knows what they're doing. You want someone that is there. Case in point, when you fall down and hurt your knee, do you go to your younger brother or do you go to your mother? When you are in trouble and you need money for rent, do you go to your sister or do you go to your uncle who's wealthy? How did your uncle get the wealth? He's been managing money very well over the last 20, 30, 40 years. So he has enough money to be able to live off of and give you some. Whereas your sister is probably right where you are, still trying to add reference to their wealth. So what we see in this, in the understanding of this first part, is that the evidence of view is based on competency. I am 50 something, so if I put up a website, it's going to look like when we had a MySpace account. Not many people know about MySpace if you're under the age of 20. MySpace was the first Facebook page. And that was just what it was. It was a personal space. It was almost like a LinkedIn, where you put up all your information and people come in and comment, and then you can post pictures and then they comment. And that was like what we had back then. Then there was Facebook, and then there was OneNote and all the other LinkedIn and Instagram, and I can't even name them all. Why? Because I'm older. I'm not into the newest technology. I'm into what works and what I'm comfortable with. That's the adage of having someone my age in your company. Someone my age will remember what happened before so that you won't make the same mistakes. Someone that's new in technology will see what it is that has happened now and can pull the company forward. So when you have the greater blend of the old, what worked, and the new, what is coming, you have a great blend. But that offers that uniqueness in that diversity. You don't just have a field of young folks in technology or a field of old folks in medicine. You have a blend of both. I myself, I promote the youth. I don't even do a session unless we have half the adage, whoever's like, if we have 30 people in there, 15 are youth. Because whatever it is that we're speaking about, we have to educate. That means the youth are coming here to give us something new, but if they don't know what happened before, how is it really new? They may be repeating what we already did. They may be recreating the wheel thinking they're doing something new. So you have to have pathology. Pathology is the old folks. This is what we used to do. So if you didn't know that we had MySpace, how did we get Facebook? Now, Mark Zuckerberg thought he was doing something new until he realized that his father had MySpace. And then he took that model and developed Facebook. But had he not spoken to his father, would he have known that the MySpace existed? If you look at MySpace and look at Facebook, it's almost a mirror image, only it's more colors, more adaptations, and more abilities. So knowing that is to know pathology is necessary. You have to know what happened in the past in order to know where you're going. As it pertains to business, especially African business, we have to keep elders on board. Right now in the federation that I work with, we actually have an elders council that is 15 people over the age of 60. In order for you to even be on the council, you have to be at least 60. And this is because I need to know what happened when you were younger. What did you miss? What did you not have? And these are people that are even older than me. So what happened during my parents' generation? What happened to the generation before that? Because I have an 80-year-old that's in the group. And she is talking about something that happened here in the United States back in the 60s and 70s before I was, well, right around the time I was born and before. If she's 80, she was born in the 30s. So she knows what has happened way back in the turn of the century when we didn't have much and most of Africa was just rural area. So she knows what we didn't have to what it is that she sees now, running water in her house. The fact that she's living in a concrete structure and not in a shanty, which is what she grew up in. So she sees the change. She knows the difference. So now when she starts talking to people in the new technology, she says, now let's make a smart village. I came up in a shanty and she says, I'd like to know who's at my door before I get there. So what she wants to do is have a camera at the door so that while she's sitting there in her chair, before she gets up, she can actually speak to that person and say, yes, can I help you? So she doesn't have to get to the door and possibly run into somebody that may hurt her because they may be there to do no harm. She can actually see the people. She can take a picture of them. She could actually talk to them and tell them, please leave my door. I'm going to call the police. This is what we have as an adage here in the United States for the elderly. Now the rate of violence towards our elderly has decreased 60% because of the camera that was mounted on their door. Now, these are people that didn't have running waters and toilets in their house when they grew up. But now they have technology built by young folks to be able to have a camera at her door. So when you ring her doorbell, a little box is activated. And she's able to look at the box and she's able to see your face, see that you're standing there with a package, or see that you're standing there with roses, or even just see that you're her daughter and she'll come in to visit. And she's even able to open or unlock the door from that little device. So she doesn't even have to get up from where she is. This is great for senior citizens and the elderly who have a hard time getting up or walking. Can you imagine that in African households? Can you imagine that in households where the children are left and gone and they only come back to visit? The ones that are getting ready to move mom to their house or haven't moved mom to her house yet? This is the diversity that can happen. We can have technology built so that these people can have these new advantageous things. The youth can develop it, and the elders can appreciate it. So this is what we're talking about as far as evidence of youth. Things you can see both in pathology, both in current affairs, and both how it is advantageous for all of us. I'm going to stop there and ask if there's any questions, if you want to moderate the questions, and make sure that it is mentioned in your question what part you want to talk about. If there are no questions, I'll just keep going. But if there are any questions, I'll open the floor now.
Okay, guys, any questions? Oh, there's always a hard one going first. Please go
That's
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, so the next one is evidence of personal gain. In diversity and inclusion, there is an evidence, a fact of personal gain. First of all, the questions are, who does this benefit? Who does this benefit? Thank you, David. Who does diversity and inclusion benefit? Why is it still allowed? Why is the not being diverse being allowed? Why are we not more formidable to do this more readily? And then what causes us to be vulnerable if we do include a diversity in our business? Okay, so let's tackle the first one. This is section 2, evidence of personal gain. Gain, G-A-I-N. Thank you for that question. Evidence of personal gain. The first part of that is, who does this benefit? When you are culturally diverse, you benefit all of population. When you're not culturally diverse, you only benefit those that are superior or oppress those that are inferior. I'm going to give you a case in point. Here in the West, in the United States, of course, it is heavily European. And unfortunately, those that are of African descent, or those that have come here and migrated from the African continent, or those like me that were born here in the United States but still not accepted as a real American, they have an adage in employment where you almost have to prove yourself, okay? Now, I speak very Western. I think I carry an accent that's maybe from New York, or maybe when I get very excited, you may hear a little bit of the African come out when I get excited, or, you're talking amongst family, it may come out. But when I'm in business and when I'm speaking, I think I sound very American, very English, very colonial. And this is because that is the environment I have been in. I am born and raised right here in New York. And this is because my parents came over in the 60s and they decided they were going to settle here in New York. And this is where I was born. I went in the military, I traveled around the world, came back because my service was here. So knowing that is, in the United States, me being diverse in my business benefits me because I will be comfortable with the people that I've traveled with, the people I've been around. But if you're a European that was born and raised here, who do you think you're going to hire? You're going to hire other Europeans. Why? Because that's what you're comfortable with. That's what you've been around. That's what you grew up with. If you're Nigerian, you're probably going to hire other Nigerians. If you're from Ghana, you're going to hire other Ghanaians. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to take away, oh, there goes my camera again. What you're not going to do is you're not going to take away from your comfort. This is the thing that I talk about, who gains. Those that are the most comfortable benefit. Complacency is a sin. When you're comfortable with something and you're okay with it, you don't grow. When you add diversity to a thing, complacency is a sin. Yes, Elizabeth. When you add diversity to a thing, You add different opinions, different insights, different ways of doing things. For example, I'm from the Gambia. I was born here in the United States. But what I didn't do is I didn't limit that as my scope. When I lived in Germany, when I lived in Spain, when we lived in Rhoda, Spain and Japan, when we lived even in California. These are all different cultures. These were different people that were doing different things for different reasons. Everybody, and what I noticed that all cultures have rice, but we have jollof rice. The Asians have jasmine rice, or the Arabs have basmati rice. We all have rice, but our rices are different intentionally. So now when I cook, sometimes I have a basmati rice. 90% is jollof, of course, but I may put a basmati rice. I may even try to have a jasmine rice sometimes because I love the smell of it. So knowing that is to know that if I didn't travel in those cultures, would I have known that? Just like in Germany, they don't do too much rice, but they do potatoes. So now, because I lived there for 2 years, I know 50 different ways to bake a potato, to cook a potato, to make a potato, mash it, boil it, bake it, fry it. You name it, I can do to a potato. I show you that because it's still a potato and it's still going to be a potato, but the difference is how you prepare it. Same way in business. You're going to get the job done, but the diversity of it allows it to be more creative, more advantageous, and more ostentatious to a difference in view. Something you wouldn't think to do, somebody else from another culture would. Something you wouldn't think to add, somebody else does it as a norm. So just enjoying that brings the game to the team. So if I'm on a team of Nigerians, Kenyans, South Africans, and Zimbabweans, I'm going to learn 4 different ways to do this plan. The way they do it in Zimbabwe, the way they do it in South Africa, Kenya, and any other variants that they bring. Suppose that Kenyan did 4 years in DRC. Now that Kenya now brings traditions from the DRC. So even though you have different people there, the gain is their experience. So what you're doing in diversity when you're dealing with personal gain is you being diverse, you gain different experiences from just having new people. So now you can say, oh, I know 50 different ways to fry a potato. Not because you went to Germany, but because Ameena was on your team. So here it is, you didn't have to travel all the way to Germany. You didn't have to live there 2 years. You could just listen to what Ameena says. Now you have a new recipe for potatoes that you can take back to Kenya. So this is how diversity works in personal gain. Part 2 of this is, why is it allowed still? Why do we still allow people to have businesses and they're not culturally diverse, or they're not inclusively diverse? This is from that complacency. We're not going to fix something that's not broken. Well, how you know that what you're doing is not broken in and of itself? Just because you're comfortable in it doesn't mean that it's healthy. I mean, people always say, well, I've been smoking for 50 years. That doesn't mean that you're not going to die of lung cancer. That just means that you done dodged the bullet thus far. But it's inevitable that things change. All things must change. Nothing stays the same. And even in nature, the seasons change, the flowers change. Even in daytime, the night goes to day, day goes to night. Everything must change. So when we allow it to stay the same, we strangle ourselves. We actually, I call it corporate suffocation. When we have the same people doing the same things for 20 and 30 years in the same business, in the same positions. Why? Because it works. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's functional anymore. So if you're using MySpace for 30 years, would you ever know what Facebook was about? If you're using this old website, would you ever know how to integrate it and maybe make a virtual website? If you've been using the same secretary for 30 years, would you ever know what a virtual assistant was and how helpful that really is? So knowing that there is a piece to this, there is an allowance of greatness for you to continue to allow it to be sedimentary in its ways, is allowing you to suffocate yourself corporately. Case in point, when you go to school, even school is so diverse that it tells you that you have to change grades every year. They don't even let you stay in the same grade for more than 1 year, because they realize every year that you are old, you have matured. So now you're ready for the next level. So if school is telling you, you go from first to second to third to eighth to ninth to 10th to now college and beyond, because you're ready, why are you still staying the same way in business? Why are you still staying at that same level of business just because you're comfortable? It doesn't profit you to stay the same way. It was written biblically that there is a standard that needs to rise in excellence. You need to graduate yourself. So in graduating yourself, it may graduate you to understand that you can't do this by yourself and that you may need help. This is that third part. What causes the vulnerability? Why do people not want to change? That's the bigger question. Why do people want to stay where they are and stay comfortable? They don't want to learn who their new neighbor is. They don't want to get to know the person that just joined the business. They don't want to get to know new people that come aboard. Why is that? Because they're afraid that somebody's going to come and take their job. They're afraid if they add people to the mix, that now David is going to take my job. Oh, I'm not going to get to know David. Oh, no. No. David, you're good right there. When it's time for David to get promoted, no, you're not ready, David. No. I'm not going to promote you because, no, I don't know. You wore a black tie yesterday to work. I don't know. I don't think that a black tie is presentable. And I'm thwarting David for my insecurities. Now, David, who is ready to go to the next level, just like you are in class, is now ready to spread his wings, but I am vulnerable. So me as the supervisor or the manager or the boss, it is sad. It is sad, David. I am thwarting, I'm oppressing you. I'm saying, no, David, I don't think you're ready. Or, which is even worse, was what I'm hearing now when I'm going through my corporate stance. I'm hearing, oh, David, well, we're needing someone a little bit more mature for that position. What? You're needing somebody that's what? So what are you saying? I'm too young for this, but I'm ready, I'm experienced? So you're saying that I'm not ready to do this? So now who's oppressing who? Your insecurities and your vulnerabilities because you're older, and I'm the older boss. Now I'm saying, you know what? I don't want David to take my place because then I won't be found worthy. Because I'm older, I'm feeling David is going to push me out. Or for the sake, like we're dealing with medicine now, Elizabeth is a new doctor. She's young, she's vibrant. She reminds me of who I used to be 30 years ago. I had all the energy, and I'm doing the 12-hour shift, and I'm running around here, and now I'm looking at Elizabeth like, why is she doing that? Is she crazy? Oh my God, why is she, Elizabeth, you're just too much. You're just too much. Oh, just stop. And I'm saying that, why? Because you remind me of me. And I don't want you to remind me of who I used to be, because now I feel as though you're going to take my place. I feel as though whatever it is that you have, all of this energy that I used to have, I don't have it anymore because I'm so old and it's time for me to retire, which is why I did. It's time for me to move on. But because I feel that, right, it is just Africa, that's right. Now I feel like somebody is going to take my place. Now I have to look young, and I gotta, dress young, and I gotta hang out with the young kids so I can know what they're doing, so I can do that, so that I won't shut. No. Let Elizabeth come in. Let her have that energy. Let David rise to that next level. Let him have that freedom. Why? Because now you can mentor them. So many of us lose the opportunity of mentorship for the sake of trying to be relative. That is a diversity. So now, instead of me being the doctor, I can now be the mentor to the new doctor. I can now be the mentor to David. So instead of pushing him down and oppressing him, I can now help him to grow his wings by telling him the mistakes I made that made me stay down really low for a long time. So this is the reason why we say, who does it gain? What is that personal gain? That vulnerability is me being replaced. So now we need to start maturing our elders into now a mentorship. So you coming aboard as youth, instead of you saying, oh, Dr. Ameena, she's just, oh my God, she's been a doctor as long as I've been alive. Look, I'm 30 and she's been retired after 30 years. So my God, she's so old. Okay. So now instead of saying I'm old, why don't you come to me for advice? Because clearly I've been doing it 30 years and you've only been doing it 1. So come to me for advice. Come to me to say, Dr. Ameena, what did you used to do back then? Okay, that may not work. So what do we need to do now? Okay, well, maybe we can do this. Work together. That diversifies the team that you're already on and allows you to have a greater chance of gaining that experience from that elder to take to the new chapter that you have. So that is the precipice that we're in right now in the diversity of elders to the youth. So I'm going to stop right there and see if there's any questions on evidence of personal gain. Okay, are there any questions?
Okay, any questions, guys? I think Shadi was asking if this happens in just Africa. I mean, this old tug of war between, oh, it's everywhere.
No, and that's a good question. That's a very good question. No, here in America, this is a dog-eat-dog world. For example, I use the example of David. David is a male, he's educated. Remember, Elizabeth has the experience, David has the education. So David will come to the United States and he has all this education. He may even come to the United States and get his master's or his PhD. So now he's American educated as well as African educated. Thank you, Rachel. And what he'll do is he'll come to the United States and he'll apply for a job. Well, that job will be, let's say, engineering. And he's applying for an engineering position. He's very qualified. He's a doctor now. He's Dr. David. So now Dr. David is now applying for the same position as a European counterpart. The European counterpart only has his master's degree, but he's a white male. If you're in a European model, you tend to go with what's comfortable. Remember, we just talked about that. We talked about who you choose based on comfort. The US is a European model. So of course they're going to be privileged and entitled to that job. And they may even go in there thinking, I'm going to get this job because I'm European and because I'm white and I'm an engineer with a master's degree. Well, David is an engineer with a PhD. And David has he has engineering experience in both the African continent and the US. So who would you hire if you're talking about education? But guess what? David would be the European would get hired and David would be his assistant. That's the way it would work here. Why? Because businesses want to show that they have the diversity, so that they have a doctor and that they have an African, because they want to show that they are diverse, but they won't put them in positions of power because they feel, remember that vulnerability? They will feel as though you're going to take over. But that is what you're supposed to do, because nothing stays the same. They want to hold on to this old school mentality. I've been here for 40 years, so I've earned my space. But that just means you have 40 years of experience that you can now mentor. And you can mentor to David. So move out the way. That's why I retired, because I realized so many of the youth were coming to me asking me in medicine, Dr. Ameena, what do I do? Dr. Ameena, what do I do? Dr. Ameena, what do I do? Can you come to this conference? Can you teach this? Can you do this? So I'm like, I don't have time to do this and do medicine too. So I retired. But so many Europeans, they don't want to lose that. They think that there's some kind of title that comes with this position they hold. Like if they retire, that there'll be nothing now. No, you're still going to be the founder of this organization. You're still going to be the one that was there for 40 years. As a mentor, I'm still going to be a doctor. You can't take that away from me. I mean, I can retire 20 times. I'm still going to be a doctor because you can't take that from me. So why not let David do it? Why not let David got a PhD? He's a doctor. How wouldn't it be better to say that you have a doctor in this position than you have someone just with a master's degree? So let David do it. Then on the other hand, on the flip side, with me and Elizabeth as a new doctor, why not give Elizabeth that position that I just held? People are like, oh my God, she's only been a doctor for 2 years. So what? I was a doctor for 2 years. I survived, I think. So why not give Elizabeth that chance? Why not give her a chance at year 2 rather than wait until she's 15 years in? Oh, she's been a doctor 15 years, so now we're going to give her a supervisory position. No. Why not give it to her in year 2 so she can build into it? She can grow into it. And then when she grows into that position, now she can mentor at a younger age. So now she's 15 years in as a supervisor doing the same thing it took me 25 years to get to, oddly enough. I wasn't the chief of staff until I was in my 25th year. 25 years into medicine, that's when they give me this position of being over everybody. And 5 years later, I retired. Wouldn't it have been better for me to get that in year 10, maybe year 8, so that now I can grow into it and grow into the knowledge of what it takes to supervise and lead, so that I, as a young person, will learn how it is to lead at a young age, rather than wait till I'm old and think, oh, well now Dr. Ameena is 35, 40, and now she can lead. No, no, no. What that's saying is that you don't believe young folks can lead. And that's really a crime. It should be a crime. I believe that if Elizabeth was to be in the same position I was in when I was in retirement, matter of fact, I did give it to somebody that was 27 and they hit the floor. When I actually turned over my position to someone who was 27 years old, and they were like, Ameena, what are you talking about? Chief of staff and they're 27? Yeah, why not? Chief of staff? Really? Yes. And I handed it over to her. And they were angry with me for like 2 weeks till I had to explain it. Why not? So the understanding is in this, and I'm going to close this section off. The understanding is you need to do this based on who is ready, not for when you are ready. When you are ready, you will be ready to do this on a global level. But when they are ready, they will be able to do it right now in the reality of right now. That's called real-time experience. And if I thwart David on what it is that he does, can he practice real-time? No. He's sitting there just waiting for Dr. Ameena to promote him because he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. His job is boring. He's losing interest. He's wanting to take time off because there's nothing for him to do. There's nothing that's challenging him. And there's no real reason for him to be there. He's going to start looking for another job that can appreciate the fact that he's a doctor now. He's going to be looking for another position that challenges him so that he can grow as a person. And this is where he is going to be. Now I've lost a good person. Why? Because I was vulnerable. Because I was afraid of what David had. No, I welcome what David has. I was afraid of Elizabeth taking my place. No, I gave Elizabeth my place. I'm not afraid of anything that is going to better the grand scheme. I don't need this title. I am a doctor. I'm a doctor when I'm in my sleep. I'm a doctor when I'm awake. I'm a doctor when I'm eating dinner. I'm a doctor when I'm in there taking a shower. That's not going to change. You don't need a title to have a position. And you don't need a position to own a title. You have to be a good person that understands the balance of talent and what it is that's in front of you. That's what makes you an outstanding leader, and that's what will keep your business very diverse. I hope that answers your question, and I hope that gives you a better clarity. If there's any more questions, if not, I'm going to move on to number 3. I'm going to give you a minute to see if there's any questions in the chat. Okay, if not, I'll move on to number 3. Oh, there is? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, there isn't. You can go on.
Okay. So number 3 is evidences of appearance. Do I look good? If we call it a cultural diversity selfie, we're taking a picture of ourselves. What do we see? What do we see? The evidences of appearance. What do we see when we look at this corporation, this NGO, this business? There are two questions that come of this. One is, how is it seen domestically, right there in your area? And then what is the reason that it is not further supported? So one of the questions that we always have in cultural diversity and inclusion is we have the point of relevance. How is it seen domestically? How are people from the outside looking in, seeing your business? You're comfortable where you are. You know, I'm this doctor that's 30 years and I'm telling all of this and I'm doing all of this. But how is Rachel seeing me as this doctor? Is Rachel seeing me as a doctor that just wants to hold on to a title? Oh, she just wants to be called Dr. Ameena because she just wants to hold on to the title because she's a supervisor over all of the hospital. Okay, or does she see me as Dr. Ameena that I can call up on Sunday morning because I'm sad and I can talk to her about my problems? How do people see you from the inside, from the outside in? How do they see you? And the one way they see you is based on your leadership. So like they say, it's the head of the snake. It's from the top down. So if the top is dysfunctional, the bottom will be dysfunctional. If the top is dogmatic and very dictatorial, the bottom will be very oppressed, very suppressed, and very challenged. So how do people see you? Okay, so we go back to the Dr. David. Dr. David is this engineer. He is somebody that is in this business, and Dr. David is doing magnificent things. He's been promoted. Dr. Ameena promoted him. He's over a whole department now. He is bringing other people in. He's bringing interns in that are helping with his job. It helps me with my bottom line because I don't have to hire them. He's bringing them in and they're free because they're interns. He is allowing the interns to do a lot of the work so they get to experience, and then he gets the results because he gets his job done. And then he gets to mentor. All of that from a promotion. So what that shows from the outside in is Dr. Ameena is allowing her people to get promoted and bring on interns. Wow, she is really, wow, that's really creative. Dr. Ameena didn't do anything. All she did was promote David. David did it all. But what it looks like is it shines upon the leader. It shines upon who Dr. Ameena is. Dr. Ameena is the one that's real diverse, and she has, Dr. David has all these 5 interns, and he's killing it. His numbers are coming in, his programs are going, he has all of his numbers set, and he is just killing it. And Rachel's like, wow, Dr. Ameena, you really have a great team. And I'm like, yeah, Rachel, I sure do. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I know I have a great team. Ameena, you know you're not doing anything. I didn't do anything. I just promoted David. But I'm not going to not take the credit of having a dynamic team because the team does reflect the leader. So I am going to appreciate them. So what they need to see from the outside in is they need to see appreciation. So for example, every year on the anniversary of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, we have a get together. This year we couldn't do it, clearly, because it's COVID. But we normally do a big event where we invite everybody over. We plan it a year in advance, and we have everybody come. If you're from out of the country, we invite you over. We put you up in a hotel, you know, and we have you there for the weekend, and we get you acclimated to what we're doing, and we have a fun-filled week of adventure. So we bring you in, we feed you, we dance, we have marketplace outside so you can shop. And then we have a full week of programming that shows appreciation. So we have award ceremony, we have honorary acceptance speeches, we have certificate program, we have all of that all week. Why? Because if you don't show gratitude toward your employees, they will leave. I'll say that again. If you don't show gratitude toward your employees, your faculty, your staff, your people, your teams, they will leave. Gratitude is the #1 stability in business. You can be dirt poor. I remember starting out in my medical practice. the very first year, this was like 17 years ago when I very first started my medical practice. And I remember I came into it and I had 3 people. It was me, a secretary, and a nurse. That was it. The nurse was running ragged. She was getting people into the office. She was telling the address. She was doing the vital signs. She was drawing the blood. She was doing everything. And it was only one nurse. And I was like, wow, how can I help her? So I brought in 2 medical assistants. They were phlebotomists and one was a medical tech. And I brought them in from the nearby school. They needed clinical hours. You know how you have to have clinical hours to finish? And I brought them in for 6 weeks just to help her. And do you know, at the end of the 6 weeks when they were about ready to leave, do you know my nurse came to me in tears? She was like, why are they leaving? And I was like, because it's over. So she was like, but my help is gone. And the look on her face was like, oh my God, did I just like kill your child or something? Like, it was just that traumatic. Like, she really thought that I was like hurting her in some way by removing them. And when I saw that look on her face, I was like, oh my God, I can't even afford it. But I'm going to hire one of those interns. And I asked one of them was getting ready to go. She was actually getting her certificate so she can go someplace else. She was moving. So the one that was able to stay, I hired her. And do you know, to this day, the nurse and the intern are best of friends? I mean, like, best of friends. Like, one is the godmother of the other's daughter. Like, they are the best of friends. So what I saw was there was value to the worth. So now, because of her needing help, it was worth the money spent. Now with her, she wasn't burned out. She wasn't tired. Because sometimes the nurse would take a day off because she was just tired. And I was doing all the work. And I was like, oh my God, when you're coming back? Like, oh my God, can you help me? So now I realized without my nurse, I was lost. So now I could only appreciate the fact that without her intern, she was lost. So seeing the value and the worth of your people helps you to actualize what you're doing to show appreciation in how to help them. If you are a boss and you just say, well, I hired you to do a job, just do it, and you don't have anybody helping them, do you really think that that job is really going to be to their utmost best? Or is it just going to be enough to turn in so that it will be turned in? It's going to be just the bare minimum because she's not supported. Gratitude shows its way in 2 forms. One is personal support, and the other one is team support. Personal support means helping her like I did my nurse. She was burned out, and personally helping her with someone else, you have to hire somebody else. Team support is making sure the team is a fit. So that means, contrary to popular belief, I'm an OBGYN, so I deal with women all day. I really don't think David would have felt comfortable as an engineer coming in dealing with vagina all day. You know, I hate to sound crude, but that's what he would be dealing with. He would be seeing naked women all day in the office. Well, David might not have minded the naked part. It would have been okay, right? But he would have had to deal with women all day. And knowing that he had to deal with women all day, being an engineer may not be what he was cut out to be. That may be that may be my pastime thing, but he wouldn't want to earn money doing that because that's not his field. So knowing that the team is a fit. So if I'm hiring Rachel as my nurse, I'm going to have, Elizabeth is the doctor. So Rachel is the nurse. I might hire Melvin or Grace. Let's do Grace because she's a woman. I might hire Grace as my medical assistant, but they're all women, so it'll be a fit. Now, one may be from Ghana, one may be from Nigeria, one may be from Tanzania, but they're all African. So now they have something in common. So blending the team in what they have versus what it is. Melvin said he'd like to be my assistant. I bet you would in the field that I'm in. I bet you would, Melvin. But blending the team and making it work systematically and then personably is what betters the team in as a whole. So this is what makes the advantageousness of what the team is built of. So this is how you do it and show the gratitude. The last part of this is what is the reason that it's not supported. Well, one of the reasons why we don't have such diversity in what the evidence of appearance is because we don't want to appear soft. I'll say that again. We don't want to appear soft. So David, Dr. David, in his engineering business, may not hire too many women because it's a male-dominated business. So he doesn't want to appear like, oh, he's soft, so he's hiring all these women. So no, I want to appear soft because he's a man, and you know, men can't appear soft because they're a man's man, and they're a man, and the man, and all of that macho stuff. I can't do the macho stuff, but because David is a man, he doesn't want to appear soft. So he'll hire, if he hires 10 people, 8 will be men and 2 will be women, but he'll say, look, I got 20% women. Yeah, David, that's not enough. How about 50% women? How about 60% on a good day? Maybe you have an intern that's a woman. You know, you got 5 women as permanent staff and 1 intern. Why not? Why not? I mean, you're saying that you don't want to appear soft, but why appear hard? Why not hire 5 women? How do you know that 5 women won't make you go into black your first year? You turn a profit your first year with 5 women. Now, would you regret hiring those women? Would you regret hiring those 5 women when here it is, the 5 women on your team help you to turn a profit in your first year, which is unheard of in most businesses? You actually turned a profit in year 1. Man, you'd probably hire 5 more. You'd probably get rid of the 5 men and hire 5 more women. But the understanding is you can't, what do they say? Cut your losses. There goes that camera again. Okay. You can't cut your losses for the sake of your appearances. You have to hire based on what it is that you need. So if you're an OBGYN, you're going to hire a lot of women. Even if Dr. David is not a doctor of engineer, but maybe doctor of obstetrics. So if he's an OBGYN like I am, he's going to hire a lot of women. I don't know too many OB doctors that he's not the only man in the whole practice. Why? Because if you're dealing with women, you're going to need women. Now, if he is a urologist is someone that deals with the male anatomy, the penis, the scrotum, the testicles, that type thing, then you're going to hire more men. Why? Because more men tend to give more information to more men. So more men tend to open up to more men. So he would have more men on the staff, on the board. So you have to blend equitably. Now, that's not to say that there's not, men don't like women dealing with them in that way. It's just, there's that camera again. It's not that men don't like dealing with them in that way. It's just that there is an understanding that there is a better fit. And you need to find that better fit because that would make the team, make the dream a reality. So I hope that helps you on that part, the evidence of appearance. Does anybody have any quick questions before we begin to the last part? Anything in the chat?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
So we just
all right. Yes, so we'll finish on the last part.
Oh, okay. There's a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So Rachel is asking, what would you say is the most difficult part of implementing a diversity and inclusion program?
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm not going to answer that right now, but I'm going to answer that in the next one because actually there's a part in there that talks about how to hire and how to add that in, especially when we deal with cultures and traditions and all that good stuff. So is that okay? Can I do it that way?
Great. Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. So the last one is evidence of the uncommon behavior. Uh-oh. I'm going to step on toes on this one. Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to step on toes on this one because this helps to bring us out of that complacency, that contentment that we get in because it works and it's a fit and it feels good and I don't want to change anything because I don't want to feel like I'm changing anything because I don't want to change it. It works. That's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels of understanding that I can't even begin to talk about it in this one series. But there is an evidence of uncommon behavior. Uncommon behavior. this is behavior that is not common. This is not happening to other people. So for example, I'm going to use one product on this. In the US, we deal with cultural diversity as it pertains to gender. Our biggest thing is that we don't hire more women. But over in Africa, they deal with tribalism. I'm Fulani. Certain places I would probably be like beheaded because I'm Fulani. Certain places, because I'm Fulani, they want to marry me. Like, that's like a thing in one of the countries, that if you're a Fulani woman, it's like you are sought after to marry. Don't get that piece, because if you know what some of our Fulani women do because of that, they are on this ego high horse. I'm Fulani. Oh, I'm just gorgeous. And no, you're ugly because your behavior is ugly. So to know that is to know, because I'm Fulani and I go to certain areas, I am respected, I am revered, I'm accepted. But if I say somebody in, like one of my daughters, she married a Mandinka man. Now it's known in the tradition, the House and Fulani, they don't get along with Mandinka, but yet Mandinka love Fulani women. Like, I don't understand that. So to know that is to know, depending on where you go, you're accepted or you're rejected, or you are put in a place where you're not comfortable or you're not sure, or you're like, all you are is just Fulani, and you're just going in different countries and you're just like scared now because you don't know how you're going to be accepted. Same thing with cultural diversity. When you go into different organizations, Dr. David, the engineer, when he comes to the United States, he's still Dr. David, but he's African. He doesn't know how he's going to be accepted. He's a black male. With all that's happening with black men in the United States, he may be one of the ones pulled over and killed like George Floyd. So he doesn't know. So he's, I don't know. I'm scared. You're walking around like me, Fulani, in another country, like I'm scared until I find out. And one of the things that we deal with is the uncommon behavior of tribalism and the rooting it because of them. So that means you can have an incompetent person, but because they're Fulani, I'm going to hire them. How wrong is that? How wrong? And don't be Fulani from the Gambia. Oh my God, you don't even need an interview, girl. You can just come on in. How wrong is that? You don't even have a bachelor's degree, but I'm going to hire you over David, who has a PhD. How crazy is that? So that tribalism, that cultural adaptation to do things the way your tribe did, that traditionalism to do it because your grandfather did it, your great-grandfather did it, is ill-mannered when it comes to diversity. I'm not speaking about it in the tribe. I'm talking about how you deal with it in business. It is uncommon for you to be, let's say, Wolof, and you welcomed into a House of Fulani community. Why? Because you're Wolof. And unfortunately, Wolof are not really welcome in certain tribes. I know I went to one tribe in a I'm just gonna say a Southern African country, not South Africa. And Wolof and Hausa don't get along. Mandinka and Fula don't get along. So now we got these four parts that don't get along. So how are we gonna have diversity in this? We're gonna have to show through what it is that we do that we need each other. So maybe that helps you to understand why diversity is good, because you might need that person. David, Dr. David, who is an engineer, who just so happens to be, I don't know, Mandinka. I don't like him because my daughter married a Mandinka and she said they're selfish. So now I don't want to deal with David because he's Mandinka. But David is the only engineer on the West Coast that does this thing that I need, but I'm not going to hire him because he's Mandinka. How rude is that? How tribal is that? And how disrespectful it is for the education that David got for me not to hire him simply because he's Mandinka. This has to stop. And I am African. Although I was born here, it's what's in my blood is what makes me who I am. And I don't deal with that very well. And I know a lot of people are like, Ameena, well, you know, that's just the way the Fulas do. And no, that's not the way this Fula is doing. No. I'm Fulani. And because I'm Fulani, I'm going to do it the right way. And that's one of the, because we're very religious people, that is one of the aspects of what we hold on to. that we do it because it's the right thing at the right time. Whether we're Christian Fula or we're Muslim Fula, we are still Fula and we still know to do it the right way. That's one of the things that they embed in us. Now, my mother is Fula, that's how I'm Fula. I've had 4 girls, so all of them are Fula, all of their children are Fula. So our tribe is Fula. We marry in the other tribes. But of the 4 girls, 3 of them are married. One is Wolof, one is Timony from Sierra Leone, and one is Mandy. So for all 3 men are different tribes. Now, just getting into tribalism, part of what it is that Timony are is like first cousins to the Mandinkas. So knowing that is to know that now I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with you because you're Mandinka. Okay, I don't, you know, you're Timony and you're Mandinkan. I don't want to no, that's okay. How wrong is that? My daughter loves you. Like, how could I do that? How could I not make the understanding of what I accept from my children a bad thing because I don't accept it because I'm Fulani? Oh no, you can't have that. Contrary to popular belief, all your children will be Fulani because they came from a Fula woman. So how do I lose? Like, how do I lose in this? But I'm not saying it because the lineage of the tribe will continue. I'm saying it because you are a good person enough to help my daughter continue the tribe. That's what I see. Your value, what we need. We need good men in our family. I have 4 girls. I don't have any boys. So I need men to come into the family to be able to reproduce these Fulani children so that we can keep it going. Now, not just to produce them, but to keep my family going. Whether we were Wolof, Mandi, or Fula, it would be to keep my family going. Same thing in business. You hire the people that you need to keep your business going, not the people you're comfortable with. How many of you, and I'm just going to ask this, I know I was born in the States, but I know you can relate. How many of you have been around other people of your same tribe that did you more wrong than somebody else in another tribe? I'll wait. Yes. There are people in your own tribe that do you more wrong than the people from somebody else's tribe. But you'll hire them and you'll bring them on because they're of your tribe. So what? So what? If Dr. David is Mandinka and he's doing what it is that I need, Dr. David, come on over here because I got some money for you if you do this job for you. Please come on over. Rachel is Wolof, and Rachel is a darn good nurse. I don't care if she's atheistic in some kind of far-off tribe from Peru. I need you. I need you. And I need you because you're a darn good nurse, and I'm a doctor that needs a darn good nurse, period. So you have to see how the need is versed. How do you see that? I hope that answers your question, but I'm going to show you in 3 points. Okay. One is limited scope of trust. This is under uncommon behavior. There's 2 points. Limited scope of trust. Okay. Why do we not have limited scope of trust? Limited scope of trust is 2 parts. Let's talk about both parts before we go into the second part of this. Limited scope of trust deals with experience and with knowledge, okay? Me being a doctor, if I come to you and I say, I don't know, let's use Grace. Grace has to get her tonsils out. And Grace says, I need to find a doctor that's been doing this a while because I really want to know that I'm going to do this by a good person. So Grace says, Dr. Ameena, how long you been taking out tonsils? Girl, I've been taking out tonsils since the 80s. And you're like, well, I was born in the 80s. So you've been taking out tonsils as long as I've been alive? Yes, ma'am. Okay, can I set up an appointment with you? Why did she do that? We mentioned this before. We did that because she trusts my experience. She trusts that what I've been doing, at least for the last 30 years, has been enough for me to continue to do it. Like I haven't been fired and lost my license and malpractice and all that other stuff, okay? So at least what I'm doing is doing it right. So she's gonna choose me, okay? Now the knowledge is, let's say Mary is a doctor. Mary's only been a doctor for 10 years, but she does arthroscopic surgery, which is with the cameras you know, you're going through and you're looking through the camera, you're looking on the screen and you're doing the surgery like this, but you're doing it with two little holes right here, and you're going through and you're getting, and you're done. Two little, you don't even need a Band-Aid. It's like two little, just enough to get the pencil-sized tubes in there, and they do the surgery, they come out, and it just heals up on its own. Now, that versus a cut across, let's say, you do your tonsils from inside. But let's say my pattern was, because I've been doing it 30 years, and I cut across here and go up. Now, you got a nice long scar going across your throat. I've been doing it 30 years. She's been doing it 10. Who would you choose now? Would you choose Mary or would you choose me? There's lies the difference. Most of you would say I would choose Dr. Mary. Dr. Mary does it, and it's little incisions right here that nobody would see. When you put your head down, you won't even see it. And it's more cosmetically sound. Sometimes when you cut over here, you get the keloid, you get the big thick scar that happens. Nobody wants that, because then you'll be wearing shirts like this for the rest of your life so that you cover it. Nobody wants that. Some women want to, you know, show their, especially in a traditional dress, you may have a low cut line. So now you see the scar. No, you want Dr. Mary. Dr. Mary's only been doing it 10 years, but she's been doing 6 of those 10 years orthoscopically. So now she's very good at what she does, but she's doing it a different way. So in this uncommon behavior, when we deal with scope of trust, you have to deal with as you are needing it, as you understand it through the experience and through the education or the knowledge. So if you're knowledgeable of a different way to do it, when you choose that way, if it is a different and better way for you. So your limited scope of trust has to come from those 2 points. Whether you are knowledgeable, somebody that you're knowledgeable with, you know their practice, or somebody that you know is different and unique yet competent. So that trust factor comes into play. Now, sometimes it's the same person. You're knowledgeable and you trust that person based on their knowledge and education. So it's the same person, end of story. But if it's 2 people like Dr. Mary and myself, you have to choose one. Now, both of us are competent. Both of us will get the job done, and both of us are good. But you have to choose the one that is best for you based on what you need, because you trust both of us. The second point of the uncommon behavior, we said limited scope of trust, and we have the advancement in skill. Now, that... And I'm going to use this, the evidence of appearance piece. And we're going to go back to how is it seen domestically, because we're going to see this in what it is that we bring. I have a girlfriend. I'm going to use a short story. I have a girlfriend of mine that came from Kenya. She's in the United States now. She's been in the United States about 20, 25 years now, pretty much most of our career. She came over here to go to medical school, and she came in the year I graduated. So her and I kind of hit it off because she was Kenyan, she was African. I was like, look, I'm Gambian, let's do this, done. And we kind of stayed close. Well, she developed cancer. She physically developed cancer. And she said, Dr. Ameena, I need a doctor that deals with oncology that you trust. Oh, that's a big ticket. You want me to choose your doctor. Now, suppose this goes wrong. Like, that's what I think about. She said, here's the thing. You've been in this business long enough to know who does what. Likewise, you've been in this business even 5 years more than I have to know what works. So I want you to choose for me a doctor that you would put on your children if they were in this situation. Oh, that's easy. I gave her 3 names right off the top of the head. Just 3 names, choose one of them. Because either one of them is better than anybody else I can recommend. Do you know the first person she chose was the person that did her surgery? Do you now know she's in remission for the last 6 years? And I praise God for that, because had she gone it by herself, she said she would have went to the medical school. You know, when the doctors are learning how to do these procedures. And I was like, are you kidding me? She was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, no. She was like, well, that's my point. She was going to give the kids a chance to learn this stuff, practicing on her. Yeah, not really fond of that. Not really clear with that, not really cool with that. Not saying that the kids can't do it. I'm not saying that. Please don't hear that. I am saying when it deals with something and you have a choice, the integrity lies in what it is that works and fits you. If you trust the children, go for it. Have at it. If you know, like it's a little mole on, like my little mole on my mouth, and they say, oh, it's cancerous, and they say one day it's cancerous, stuff, they're going to remove it. Of course, I'm going to get one of my friends that I know what they're doing to remove it because I trust them. But I am going to ask them, are they trained in laser surgery? Because laser surgery just burns it off and you got a little thing, it'll heal, it's done. Are you talented in laser surgery? If they're not talented in laser surgery, then I might go to somebody else because I know laser surgery works. I've seen it, and I've seen how they burn off other moles and marks on other people, and it was intuitive to me to get that. Somebody says they can't hear anything. Am I muted? Am I muted?
No, you're not. I can hear you.
Okay. So maybe that's their connection. I don't know. Am I muted? I'm not too sure. Okay. Oh, oops, there goes the camera again. All right. So what it is, is the camera on? Is it on again? Okay, there we go. So what it is that we have, yes, okay, thank you. So what it is in closing this piece, what it is we have two variables. One is the variable of knowledge and wisdom, and one is knowledge and wisdom, and one is the experience, as we've talked about. But we want to vacate that based on your trust factor. And I want to make sure that that is very evident in how we see the next step, because we're getting ready to go into the question and answer. So I want to make sure that's clear so that when I start answering questions based on that, that we understand the basis so we can formulate the solution. I hope that helped everybody in that question. Now, does anybody have any questions on this last piece of evidence of appearance? No, excuse me. The last piece is evidence of uncommon behavior. Does anybody have any questions on the evidences of the uncommon behavior? That was the 4 parts, and I'm finished. So now if Rachel or Elizabeth, you want to open for general questions and answers, I can give it if they want to ask specific questions.
Okay, great. So we can open now for the general questions?
Yes.
All right. Okay, great. So a couple of questions already. I see Danielle's. Guys, pardon me. I'll just start from the very first question I received. So sure. I'll come gradually to you. There's a question. So Rachel's question, I don't know if it's been, Rachel, if she's good with the question, with the answer about the most difficult part of implementing a diversity and inclusion program. So yes. So after that, we have another question from Melvin. He's asking, how do young, somewhat experienced individuals leaving their jobs out of stress and under appreciation survive in their own startups? Yeah.
Wow. First of all, you are appreciated, because the fact that you even asked that question lets me know that there's gratitude that needs to go out. So thank you. Thank you for staying the course where you are. It is going to get better. And I have to say that because nothing lasts forever, to include hardship. You know, in Islam, my favorite verse is, verily with hardship comes ease. It's actually written twice because it was so profound the first time that it was actually written twice. Verily with hardship comes ease. That means after the trial comes the triumph. So know that you are not appreciated because you're probably in the wrong space. I'm going to say that. Why do I say that? And I say that to those that I lecture to. You're in the wrong space. You're that Dr. David that's an engineer and he's in obstetrics. He is appreciated because he's a doctor, but he's a doctor in the wrong field. So what I want to challenge you to find your niche. Find the thing that you love to do and you would actually do free if you didn't need to eat. Find that thing that you love to do and find a business that's doing that. or develop your business into doing that all day. Case in point, there's a young lady that likes dogs here. Now, Islamically, I couldn't support her physically because we don't do with the dogs too much. But what I did was I invested in her business. She loved her pet so much. And she was a Christian sister, but she was a good friend of mine. And she loved her dog so much, she opened up a dog petting, what do they call it? Like the kennels, where like when you go away for the weekend and you need a place to put your dog, she developed one in her backyard. So her backyard had like little cages, and some are air conditioned in the summertime, and it's heated in the wintertime, and they have the water, and they walk around. They have this like little dog park and balls and everything else that they do. And she literally developed that because she wanted that for her own dog. She loved her dog so much that she developed her business. Do you know that she's making $100,000 US dollars a year just watching other people's dogs? That's all she's doing. She's watching. She quit her own job just to do this full time. She enjoyed doing it. Do what you love to do, and do it as if you are never getting paid for it, because that will automatically give you a passion. That's what people like. People don't like you for the fact that you have a business. People like you because you're passionate and because you stand for what it is that you deal with. I stand up to Africans all day, especially male Africans. And I deal with men that don't like women being included in the conversation. And I walk up to them and I'm like, why not? Is my voice different than anybody else's? Well, Dr. Ameena, you know, you're a full-out woman, and you're really assertive, and sometimes you're aggressive. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Where would I be if I didn't do that in life? Excuse me. Where would I be if I wasn't like that in medicine? Where would I be if I wasn't like that for my women? Well, yeah, and that's cute, and I appreciate it, but no, there's no buts. You're not comfortable with an assertive woman. That's why your wife is submissive. That's why your children are oppressed. And that's why the girls in your family don't say much, because of your behavior. And you accept that and you tolerate that. And that's why women in my family couldn't be in your family, because the Fula women there, they learn from examples. So guess what they are? So hopefully that helps to answer your question. Hopefully that helps to answer what it is that we're doing with what we have. And that becomes the challenge point that we have to overcome. I hope that answers it. Okay, thank you, Melvin.
Thank you. So I'll go to the next question. I think this is like a follow-up to the first. Melvin was asking, would I have to endure to gain more experience as possible, or leave and grow into the experience out of the opportunity I create for myself? So I think he's trying to ask if he should stay on the job or just start his own experience.
Well, the mother in me is going to tell you start your own, because there's no better money than the money you make. You appreciate it more. However, if you're looking for experience, there's no rule that says that you can't do both. Stay in what it is that you do as far as the job. When you go to do your own, take the things from that job that work and put it in your business. This way your business starts off on a good foot. However, stay in as long as you need to, and you'll know when to leave. Here's why I know. We'll talk about, when we talked about Dr. Elizabeth coming in as the young, exciting doctor, and she was the doctor that came in and reminded me of me. One of my mentors, who was in it 40 years before I got into it, she said, when you see yourself in medicine, that's when it's time to leave, because your replacement has come. That scared the bejesus out of me back then, okay? That was a thing that let me know, oh my God, I don't ever want to see that person. So as soon as that Dr. Elizabeth showed up, I hated her. I hated her because I all these years, I dreaded seeing me in this, because I didn't want to see me. That's my replacement? No, I don't want to see her. What? She's going to push me out? No. So Dr. Elizabeth came, and she's all spunky, and she's just, hi, Dr. Ameena, what are we going to do today? And I'm like, would you just calm down? Would you just take it down a little bit? And I'm knocking her down and I'm pushing her down the same way your job is doing you. So Dr. Elizabeth was like, Dr. Ameena, did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. So why are you treating me like this? Because it's just too much. It's just too much. What I had to realize was my replacement was here. Me allowing Dr. Elizabeth to come in doesn't mean I lose face. It doesn't mean I lose power. You leaving corporate stance doesn't mean you lost your valiance or that's the only experience you're going to get. Experience is your best teacher. So why not get it on you doing what you do in your own business? So just like I was needing to be replaced, Dr. Elizabeth came in, she replaced me. I pushed her into that position because once I realized that that replacement was going to come, that nothing lasts forever, I want you to realize being in that corporate environment will not be forever. You need to learn what you can learn, get what you can get out of them, and go do you. Go do you. That's me as a mother. As Dr. Ameena, I would tell you, why don't you just stay in the business and learn what you can learn and find a mentor and all the things that you want to hear. But that's not going to grow you. That's that thing. Remember when we talked about Dr. David, how I keep suppressing him and keep him down and I don't let him grow because I'm afraid he's going to take off and go somewhere else and do something else. All that. Yeah. That is going to be you. You're going to take off and go do something else. Why am I going to be Dr. Ameena and hold you down? That's wrong of me. I'm saying that because you staying here helps my bottom line. That helps me get my job done because now you doing the work. But why not do the work for yourself? Why not get an opportunity to do this work so that you can get that money? There's nothing wrong with it. So as a mother, I'm going to say, go do you. And I hope that answers your question. Go ahead, Rachel, or Elizabeth, sorry.
Sorry. Yes, great. It answers my question too indirectly. So
Okay.
Next we have Danielle. Danielle says, please, what is your view on weighing skill and efficiency on educational height or achievement? I am asking because of arguments raised that a lot of people with higher educational backgrounds fail to perform excellently as their grades depict.
I agree. I'm one of those people that I hire experience over education. I'm just going to say that. If you've been doing this 20 years, come on aboard. If you've been educated 5 years, okay, that's cute. I'll hire you as her assistant. Why? Because those that have been doing it have a work ethic already in place. Think about it. If you've been doing something 20 years, you know how to do it. The way to do it changes, creative ways. You know how to turn it and flip it. If it doesn't work this way, you know how to do it that way. You know how to, all you are is educated. That means you open up a book, you study, you took a test, you finished. This person may have done the same thing, but they did it and did the experience. So now Dr. David is not a doctor yet, but he has 10 years of practical experience and he has a dissertation which involves research. So now he has experience and research. So yeah, I'm going to hire him, but I may hire him before he becomes a PhD. I may hire him now just because he has experience. So I benefit when he becomes a doctor. So knowing that is to know, yes, I do a higher experience. I hire experience because experience is what is going to get me out of a bind when I get stuck somewhere. Because chances are, if you've been doing this 20 years, you've been in that situation and you've gotten yourself out of it. So I'm going to trust that you're going to be that go-to person when I get in that bind here. So experience is my best teacher and experience is also my best employee. Now, as far as people that have education that underperform, that is the norm. Why? Remember we talked about in the beginning of this, people lean on their titles. I am Dr. Ameena Ali. So if I'm Dr. Ameena Ali, you need to listen to me and you need to do what I say. And I don't have to do anything but sit back and you just do what I say. What? How did you even become a doctor with that attitude? That's what I would be asking. If you are a leader, if you say you are a leader, first of all, no one has to tell you. I'll say that again. If you are a leader, no one has to tell you. They will automatically follow you. If you are a true mentor, You don't have to go out saying, oh, I'm a mentor. Hey guys, over here, I'm a mentor. No, they're gonna come to you and say, Dr. Ameena, will you mentor me? So what you have to understand is just because you have education doesn't mean that you have that title and you're able to do it. That just means that you finished reading a book, taking a test, and graduating a class. That's it. And I think if you're confident enough as a leader, you're already doing that every day. There aren't too many times that I'm not on a Zoom meeting doing another class. Why? Because I don't know everything about obstetrics and gynecology. I've just been doing a lot of things over 30 years. But there's some things that I've forgotten because I don't use it. So now I got to brush up on it. I got to pull it back. I got to use this for a conference. I got to relearn this. So this is why education is not a kill safe for me. Just because you got a PhD, Dr. David, that's cute. But if you've only had if you had education for 2 years and Rachel has experience for 20 years, guess who's going to get hired? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I cannot trust your education that is going to get me where I need to go. But I can trust Rachel's experience because she's proven herself for 20 years. Likewise, I don't want to run the risk of you getting in there and saying, well, I'm Dr. David. I'm Dr. David. And I'm Dr. David, so you need to listen to me because I'm Dr. David. No, you're just somebody that has a title. I got one too. And I'm your boss. So knowing that is to know I'm not appreciative of just having the title. I need you to do the work. And just like me, I'm a doctor, but I sweep floors, I wash windows, and I cook food and bring it in for my team as well. So I do things that most people would think, oh no, Dr. Ameena, you don't need to do that. Yes, yes, I do. Yeah, I answer telephones. Hi, and it was the business actually was a mother's piece. So I'd be like, hi, a mother's piece, Dr. Ameena speaking, and they're like, Dr. Ameena? Okay. Now they don't even know how to speak because they're so busy waiting for the receptionist to answer that when the actual doctor answers, they don't even know what to say. I answer phones. Why not? Why can't I answer the phone? Just because I'm a doctor, I have to have a receptionist to answer phone? No, I can pick up a phone. But that's part of being an effective leader. And that's why experience trumps education in my book. I hope that answers your question.
Wow, that's such a beautiful leadership experience.
Yeah,
Next is from Nicholas Seto. He says, being a medical doctor in obs and gyne, what would you say about, yes, yes. What would you say about medical imaging, in bracket radiography, in evidence-based practice? How do you see the application of ultrasonography in obstetrics and gynecology back then and now?
Oh, well, first of all, they used to be called sonograms. When I came through, they were called a sonogram. And it was a sonographer, okay? The sonographer was trained to read the little, you know how you do the wand and they see the TV up there and you see the screen, it was black and white and it looked like little dots on there and you can make out the baby and, okay, that's what we had. That's what I was trained on. Now it's ultrasound. And now it's ultrasound 3D because you can see the nose and the lips and you can see the earlobe and you can see fingernails. Oh, it's scary. It's scary. I don't think I need to see the baby while it's inside. Let me just guess at how much hair it has. You know, that's just my feel. But that's because it's new and it's different. You see what I mean by the old folks dealing with new stuff? Old folks see it as let's just deal with the black and white and safe because it's comfortable to me. The new stuff, which is more powerful and needed, especially if you want to look at abnormalities, if like the baby has spina bifida, which means the spine is open, if the baby has a cleft lip or cleft palate, which means it's a split in the lip, we can see that. We can see it right there on the monitor. We can see it right there on the screen. There's a baby with a split in his lip. There's a baby with a hole in his back. There's a baby with one arm and the other arm is gone. We can see it in real time. So we now know how to treat it before baby is born. That's why it's brilliant. However, the only drawback to that is I wish that they would reduce the radiation because when you get to see a picture like that, there's a lot of radiation going into that belly. That's a lot of radiation. That is, the clearer the picture, the more radiation. I'm just gonna say it just like that. The clearer the picture, like when you can see dimples and you can see the baby's nails and you can see how the baby's lips are formed, and that's too much radiation to me. And that's because I realize how much radiation goes into each of those designs. Now, I am a big fan of the butterfly technology, and that's a whole nother thing if you're in obstetrics. And that is, it's on an iPad, and it's a little wand that has the same thing in there, but it's a Doppler. It's like the same thing that you listen to, the baby's heartbeat, that little wand. It's the same thing, only you put it over the belly and you get to look at it on your iPad. We use that in telemedicine. Now, whoa, I wish that was in every hospital in the world, because that allows me to be able to treat someone that's in Kenya. I can treat a woman in Uganda. I can treat a woman in Ghana, right here in the United States with that. Yes, that's how good this, and it's just an iPad and a wand. And you put the wand on the belly and it's connected to the iPad and you can see the image on the iPad. So while she's doing that there in Uganda, she's rubbing it on the belly in Uganda, I'm looking at my iPad and I'm watching the same thing happen in real time. That is amazing, amazing. So yeah, so to answer your question, that's the part I like. But as far as like all of that imaging and taking pictures of the baby and seeing all, if you can reduce the radiology, I would sign off on it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, okay, great. Next, we have another question from Danielle. She says, would you advise pushing to get experience while in school? I think this was touched a bit already. So
say that one more time. Repeat that one more time.
Would you advise pushing to get experience while in school?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My daughters will tell you that every fellowship, internship, every paid, unpaid, if it was there, I was helping them fill out applications. Oh, you getting that fellowship. Oh, you getting that. Oh my goodness, you should have seen them. They were more busy in college, and they'll tell you, they would rather go to work than go back to school because they were more busy in college than they were working. If they had a day off, they better be doing some research or be in a fellowship. There is nothing about their week. The only day they rested is on Friday and Sunday. That's it. That's it. So every other day of the week is they were in a fellowship, they were in an internship, they were doing some research in a lab somewhere, they were working with Dr. David in engineering, or they're working with Dr. Elizabeth as a new doctor, they're shadowing her for a day, something, they're doing something. Because there's no, and in Islam, it says, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And that means the more you sit and you just like, I'm wondering when the next idea is gonna come along. That's when the shaitan comes in there and says, oh, why don't you go do this? Why don't you go do that? And it's not what you need to do. So I kept them busy. Oh my goodness, yes. We have a fellowship opening up in January for gender-based violence. We have one in October, but that's closed now. And there's one coming up in January for gender-based violence. And I got like 13 people already. I haven't even opened it up. So every fellowship, every internship, anything you can get your hands on, do it. Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have hopefully the alternate question from Rahima.
Okay.
She's asking, what career mistakes has given you the biggest lesson?
What current mistakes?
Yeah, gave you your biggest lesson.
Did you say current mistake?
No, what career mistakes given you your biggest lesson? Yeah,
that I don't handle insurance claims very well. Yeah, I just don't deal with the money aspect. I don't know how to do it, so I don't do it. I'd rather hire 15 of y'all to do it for me. I just don't do it. I don't know how to talk to the insurance and tell them about this and I just don't do it well. But the biggest one is ego. Ego. That's the biggest career mistake. I felt like I needed to, when I was younger, when I was in, I graduated medical school, I was 24. And I thought I was the SHIT. And I thought, oh, I'm Dr. Me. Back then I was AJ, and I wasn't, was that me? Somebody has their phone and their computer too close to each other.
Can you? Okay, I think it's
okay. Good. Okay. So the biggest was ego. I got a big head. I was one of the. That's why I speak about it very much. I was one of the ones with the big head. That, oh, I'm a doctor now. You need to hire me. I'm a doctor. Hello, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. Did you not hear me? So then the Fulani came out of me, and I'm standing there like, look, I am a doctor. You need to know what it is. And see, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. Just because you have the title doesn't mean you get the job. Experience is the greatest teacher. So this is where I had to learn. People were pushing me away because of my arrogance, not because I was a doctor. But once I got the experience of knowing what I did, then I got the respect. So all I had to do was just start doing. I was so busy wanting you to stroke my ego and I wanted you to know I was a doctor. So you had to keep telling me I was a doctor. Dude, Ameena, you're already a doctor. Why you got other people? Why do you need other people to tell you you're a doctor? You're already a doctor. You know this. You did the work. You got to this position. You don't need somebody else to stroke you. And that's what my grandmother would call stroking it. And that's building your ego. Ego has no place in doing a job. None. So I don't care if you have 14 degrees and 26 letters after your name. If you're incompetent, you're incompetent. But if you have no letters after your name and you only went to basic school, but you know how to do this, 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 and this, I'm hiring you. So the biggest lesson was to make sure that you know what you're doing before you talk about what you've done.
Wow.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much. So none for now. So at this point, guys, we've come to the end of the question and answer session. I mean, if you've been part of the previous editions, you can tell that this is something spectacular. Getting to keep people for about 2 hours, it means you've really done a good job. Thank you so much, Dr. Ameena. In a few minutes, Rachel would send a poll. She would launch a poll. Okay. All right, guys. So the poll is in session. Kindly try to fill it as soon as you can before leaving. At this point, I would invite Rachel to give the vote of thanks. And after that, we will just give a short announcement. But before Rachel does that, I really just want to say thank you so much from this part of the world. Thank you so much. We really learned a lot. Rachel, it's over to you.
Yeah. So I was just here, just smiling throughout. This was this was a very good one. Personally, I've learned a lot. I've learned so much, and I appreciate you for wanting to be part of this, to share your knowledge with us. So we don't take this for granted. I appreciate you very much, and we hope to have you again some other time. Thank you so much once again.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Is it time? Should I sign off now so you guys can finish your meeting?
Oh, yes. No. It's I think it's okay. Oh,
yes, you can stay. You can actually stay.
Yes.
Okay. It depends on you, yes.
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you, Rahima. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. If you're not already a member of GYLCD, please feel free to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at GYLCD. And you would also be able to join our WhatsApp page where you get notifications. But how about we see 100% of you same time next? And at this point, we just want to say good night and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much, Dr. Ameena. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Oh, you know, please, if you can, Elizabeth, I forgot to share how they can reach her. Oh God.
Rachel, you mean the contact? Maybe you can send it to those that are still online.
I'm going to do that now.
I guess the patient dog takes the fattest bone.
Hey, this is my
Please
phone
go on.
too.
If not, then they could join if those on the WhatsApp page would.
Yeah, I'll share it in the WhatsApp group.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So guys, if in case you want to be able, if you need Dr. Amina's contact, you can check our WhatsApp platform. If you're not there, feel free to look at the poster or the flyer from which you got your invitation. You would see a link as part of the information to join our WhatsApp group. So that way we can reach you. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Feel free to sign out now.
Do you know, I don't know what's happening. I couldn't launch the poll. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Elizabeth, thank you so much as well. Hey, okay. Trying to end this.